1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Kyle, Andy, and once again, our esteemed guest, Classic Rock Carter. Thank you for coming on, Carter.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, we have a good show for y'all today.
We got a damn good show.
And we have kind of what we like to call a music roundup. This is the first time we've done multiple albums, multiple songs that is not in a slap or crap kind of situation. We have two albums to talk about. Eric Church's triple album, but we only have access to two, so we're going to be covering Heart, Soul. We're going to not have the and in there because we don't really have but two or three of those songs, so we can't really give a good review on that. We're also going to be doing Triston Marez's debut album. But first, we're going to start with a single by none other than the Country and Cold Cans' most disappointing artist relative to his talent in the mainstream, Blake Shelton. Blake Shelton has released 3 new songs coming from his upcoming project, and not going to lie, once in a while, Blake Shelton kind of taps back into what he used to do and puts out something that's pretty damn good. And Andy, I know you're the one that brought it to our attention, so if you want to go first on talking about Blake Shelton's Bible verses.
Yeah, it popped up in my what's that thing on Spotify called? Discover.
Discover, not Release Radar. Release Radar.
No, Release Radar. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, it popped up in that. I thought I was going to click on it. I was going to give him a spin on this, and as soon as I heard it, I texted y'all and said this song is fire. It is straight down my alley. I love how. What's it called where he uses the versus thing like twice with a different spelling? What's the word for that?
Well, I mean, I don't know what word you're going for, but I guess what you're trying to say is the title of the song is Bible verses, but he has kind of a turn of phrase where he turns.
Word for that.
Well, I mean, look it up and then you can tell me what it is because I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna be able to help you on that.
I don't know how to look it up. I can't look up a word. I don't.
Dictionary.com, Andy.
SpongeBob, we have the technology. It's called Google. Anyways,
you get my point.
I get your point.
I love it when people do that.
Yeah, the turn of phrase where they kind of use the same. They use the same. It sounds the same, but they use the same phrasing, but in a different way. Is what you're basically saying.
Yeah, word that is pronounced the same and it's spelled different.
Yeah. Do you not have internet out in Wyoming right now?
I don't know how to type any of this in because I don't know if I'm even saying the right word. English is my second language.
He's got to have internet if we're hearing him right now.
What gibberish is your first?
Juxtaposition, I believe. Is that what it is?
I mean,
I'm confused on what
Kyle's now asking me like I'm supposed to know this after I just said I don't know.
I can't remember what exactly you're talking about in the song, Andy.
So pull up the lyrics and I can show you, but it's right towards the end of the chorus because, like I said, the song is called Bible Verses, and basically the synopsis of the song is he's talking about like how he is a person of faith, but he struggles with living up to what the Bible like says is the correct way to live as a person of faith. And like in the second verse, he's talking about, waking up in the clothes he had last night with whiskey on his lips. And he hopes that one day he can get to the point where he reads
Bible verses, not the Bible
versus me. Exactly. And I think that's a fantastic turn of phrase. Yes, we know the song. You kind of interrupted me there. This isn't Hannity and Combs on Fox News back in the day.
I mean, to be fair, Andy, you did probably the worst job ever describing that.
To be fair, Pinky's out. But yeah, no, like I agree with you on that though, Andy. Is like I love that turn of phrase where he uses the hook of the song Bible verses, but he turns it into a way of like saying, I want it to read like Bible verses, not the Bible versus me. And I agree with you that it's a very relatable song because in a lot of ways in my life, I've said many times on the show, I'm a person of faith. But I don't always live up to the standard that I should. And it's kind of like you hope that on your walk throughout your life that you get better. And that's kind of where this song is kind of points to. And it has that kind of more traditional country kind of production on it that Blake Shelton has a very distinguishable country voice. And he's a fantastic vocalist, but he doesn't always sing the best song. He doesn't always pick the best songs. And I think that this was one, he didn't write this, but I think this was one that he picked that he hit it out of the park.
I like the consciousness of, like in the song where he's conscious of his problems. I like songs where they acknowledge their problems and address it within the song.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's got two things in it that I'm a sucker for.
What was that?
The Bible verses used twice, and then the being conscious of the problem of the conflict within the song, where you acknowledge the conflict in the song, and the narrator is conscious of the problem.
Yeah, I think that in a lot of ways, like if you're from the South, like we are, I mean, there's a phrase that describes a lot of people that go to church, back row Baptist. Because I mean, I know I grew up going to a lot of Baptist churches, like where it's the classic dichotomy in country music, classic dichotomy in the South between Saturday night and Sunday morning, where you're out having cold ones with the boys on Saturday night, but then you're in church pew on Sunday morning. And I think this song kind of like in a different way talks about that, but it's not just in this is my life, I'm doing this on Saturday, this on Sunday. It's in a way that's saying, this is how I'm living my life, but I hope that one day I can get better. I hope that one day I can become more of what the Bible tells me I should be, where I don't feel like they're giving me the third degree. And when the gospel's not giving me the third degree, as he says in the song, it's where it's like just kind of like telling me this is the right way to live, and I'm actually doing a pretty good job at it. Anybody else have anything to say on that?
No, I'm just researching because I was confused on what he meant in the third degree, and after looking it up.
Well, the third degree, I think here, if I'm not mistaken, third degree is just talking about like when someone's questioning you and accusing you of things. It's like, why are you giving me the third degree?
Like
I think that's.
It's just like
correct,
what is the word? Colloquialism.
Yeah, I think you're correct, and that's kind of what I was going to get to. D-Bear beat me to it, but tip of the cap. But yeah. This was so we can agree.
We can agree that this is one of the good Blake Shelton songs that he puts out once in a while.
We need more of this Blake Shelton.
Yes.
And not Hellright and
chew the back and chew the back and chew the back spit.
Yeah, we need more. We need more Bible verses and less Hellright.
Yeah. Yeah. So Class R. Carter, you're on the show today, and just for context, you have not heard a single one of these songs really at all that we're going to be talking about today. So what do you have to say about any of this?
I think he's a good judge on America's Got Talent.
It's not even the right show.
Fuck.
The Voice.
Carter, I wouldn't have known that.
He is entertaining on The Voice. I do agree with that. But
I don't watch The Voice. I don't watch The Voice, and apparently neither does Carter.
Nope.
I don't either, but I've seen some episodes. I mean, Blake Shelton's a charismatic guy. We can't deny that. I mean, you have to sometimes give credit where credit's due, right? But anyways, moving on from the Blake Shelton song, we'll jump into, I guess we'll start with the Triston Marez album that just came out. It's so Triston Marez is a guy who's been making noise in the Texas scene. He's a young guy. I mean, he's around our age, actually. And his self-titled debut has just released. It's his first full-length record. And I think that Triston Marez, my opinion on that guy, and then I'll open it up the floor for everybody, is this album really, I think, is really good just because it's the perfect marriage between the traditional and the contemporary. It has enough like contemporary like sounds and contemporary production that will keep the younger crowd in Texas and the younger crowd even more within the larger country music listenership engaged. But at the same time, it's still straight up country. It has a few songs on it that's like really, really traditional. It's kind of similar like some 90s, early 2000s country. And I would say it's very comparable in sonically to Cody Johnson, maybe. So like, I think I really enjoyed the record. And before we get into what you guys think and some like songs in particular, I think that he's going to have a good career if he sticks with this kind of like formula, for lack of a better word, because this just works. I mean, he's got some fun songs, he's got some sad songs, but at the same time, it's the perfect marriage between the traditional and the contemporary.
It reminds me a lot of like a George Strait album, like more so like of him over time, kind of condensed down into an album. That's kind of what it reminds me of quite a bit. Like, especially with like the song Texas Swing in there. That's like, I mean, it just reminds me of George Strait.
Yeah.
So, I thought the album was good. It has like D-Berry said, it has a very like mid 90s, early aughts country vibe to it. It's a straight down the road country album, which is good. My only complaint with it is I think he kind of needs to find his own sound, because some of the songs on the record kind of reminded me of George Strait. Some of them kind of reminded me of like a Garth Brooks song. And then he tried to hit, more like the Brooks and Dunn sound. And all that's great music, but I think you just need to kind of find your own thing and stop trying to hit all these different sounds that they make. Like the Day Drinking song kind of reminds me of a Garth Brooks song.
Maybe if you're talking about like a little bit more early to mid-career Garth, maybe.
Yeah.
We Shall Be Free.
Okay, fair. Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of what it reminded me singing. And
I'm sorry, We Shall Be Free is a garbage ass song.
but yeah,
anyways,
unrelated.
Don't want to go down a rabbit hole on that.
But yeah, I know something. Like Andy, you said, the Texas Swing song that kind of reminded you of, a George Strait song. I still think my favorite song on the album is the Neon Moon Light song with Ronnie Dunn. But I think as he gets older, a little more mature, he'll find his own sound. And it's his first album, so you can't criticize him too heavy for that. But
yeah, I mean, look,
it's a really good
I get what you're saying. I do. I get what you're saying. I mean, at the same time, I just kind of see it as country. I think you're right, though, that he will have a little bit more of his own mark maybe as time comes on. But yeah. I would say the songs that I really enjoyed on this album was, say, Cold Cold Night is fantastic, man. Like, it's kind of like this honky-tonkin' version of like, the girl left you, but at the same time, she left that cold beer in the fridge because that's the only thing that's going to get you through on this cold, cold, cold night. And I really kind of dig those honky-tonkin', My Baby Left Me kind of songs that are a little bit upbeat. I also think that Two Beers on a Bar is a good song. And there's no excuse for Two Beers on a Bar not to be able to make a splash in mainstream radio. Like, seriously, that song should be a hit.
I did like that one too.
Yeah, that one should be a hit.
On that.
And also, like, diving into a little bit more of my Bummer Jam side. If You Don't Know By Now is a fantastic song. And then also She's Had Enough of Texas. I'm a sucker for a song like She's Had Enough of Texas, like The Girl's Leaving. There's a common thread with a lot of things I like about women leaving you alone. So, but She's Had Enough of Texas. Like, The Girl's Leaving. She's kind of had enough of Texas, but at the same time, she's had enough of him. Hits a Little Different. It's a fun song. That's it's another song about beer. But I mean, as much as a lot of our independent people love to bash Luke Combs for beer drinking songs, but Texas people kind of get a pass sometimes. I don't understand that. But like, Hits a Little Different. It's just a song about, these drinks hit a little different when I'm drinking with you, talking to a young lady at the bar. But it's a fun song. It's a song I could play at a tailgate at an NC State game, and people wouldn't be batting an eye about like, what the hell did you just put on, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with like songs about beer if you can relate it into something clever or meaningful. Like we just talked about Luke Combs, the Share If You Want To song.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really clever way to, work in, drinking beer. It's not, the old cliche of like drinking beer on a tailgate.
Yeah.
And
with a young lady with some Daisy Dukes.
And I think he kind of did one kind of cheesy song on the record, which I thought was Drink About Me.
Yeah,
it's kind of cheesy.
This one almost feels like a play for mainstream radio.
Yeah, it was kind of cheesy. But as D-Berry said, Cold Cold Night was good. Two Beers on a Bar was good. It's a solid first record.
And look, this guy obviously has talent, because Ronnie Dunn wouldn't be singing on a record with somebody who doesn't have a future in country music. And
he wouldn't even return his call.
No, so
whoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think Triston Marez got a bright future ahead of him. I'm looking forward to it, because I actually really like the album a lot. It sounds so good. Like, it's country, man. Like, we don't have a whole, like, even in Texas these days. I mean, we talked about this with some artists that have come on recently about how there's this kind of like punk rock, a little bit of post grunge, kind of like rock and roll scene from kids, or I shouldn't call them kids because they're our freaking age, but from dudes coming out of Texas and while I dig that sound, Tristan and Randall King are the guys that are around our age that are still kind of sticking true to that kind of country honky tonk kind of ways that are carrying on the tradition. And you need dudes like that, because Cody Johnson's a little older. I mean, it's just kind of like this generation's incarnation of the dudes that are going to sing straight up country music. You got to have that.
He's got the look too. Massive belt buckle.
Yeah.
Cowboy hat, tucked in shirt.
He's got all those. He has it's not my style. I personally wouldn't wear it because I'm a coastal guy from North Carolina, but he's got some killer Western shirts that he wears. They're a little loud for me as an East Coast guy, but I think it's a thing down there. Andy can probably speak to that kind of fashion more than I can. Yeah, and Andy's a fashionista, if you guys didn't know.
He's a
I like the loud Western shirts. I'm a big fan. So most of them tend to have like the I think it's the Aztec print, like what you typically see in those designs, like those colors. A lot of those colors, and I like it. I'm a huge fan of it.
Like we said, Andy's a fashionista. People just don't realize it.
Carter, thoughts on
Western wear?
Western wear.
I say as I sit here in my loose-fitting blue jeans and hoodie with a Boston T-shirt underneath it.
That's a country song right there.
I probably could. I could probably write a country song about that.
And his trucker hat.
Anyways, what about Western wear?
You support it or no?
I support it if you're not going to be a poser about it.
So who would be a poser?
I don't know if Andy'd be a poser considering he's a trucker.
So him being a trucker absolves him from the fact that he's not from the West.
Well, I mean, he wants to be from the Midwest. So.
I know he's Midwest Andy now, Kansas Andy.
Hey, Carter, you.
Andy's curiously silent right now with Classic Rock Carter putting him on blast.
Carter,
truckers do get a pass for it, and I always find that kind of odd. It's never really made sense to me, but they give.
You're
you
a trucker. You can just lie about where you're from.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, except for nobody's gonna believe it.
Yeah,
yeah, I've done that before.
Andy's like, "Hey there, little darling. Where are you from? I'm from Wyoming." Me too. What part? The north part.
Yellowstone.
Everybody, I'm pretty sure, like all 15 people in Wyoming know.
What's that one city in Wyoming?
What's the one city in Wyoming, Andy?
That everybody knows?
Yeah,
Cheyenne.
That's right.
Cheyenne, Laramie, Casper. Sheridan.
Oh, you lost us after Cheyenne.
You never heard of Casper?
That's a little capital, ain't it?
I've heard of Casper the Friendly Ghost, but not Casper, Wyoming.
Don't know the capital.
I don't know the capital. No offense to people in Wyoming, but Wyoming's one of those states I forget about.
Wyoming doesn't exist.
It's not Cheyenne.
No, Ohio's not a state. Well, I'm just playing. To all of our Ohio listeners, I actually love Ohio. We have a connection between North Carolina and Ohio with the Wright brothers. So, Ohio, you rock. But
much love,
Ohio. I mean, look, bringing it back to Triston Marez, I think the album's good. It's a good, like Kyle was saying, it's a good debut record. Mm-hmm. I think that he's got a bright future, like I said, and I'd be interested. Hopefully, he kind of like follows it up with a killer sophomore album. But I think it's a good debut record. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing is I agree with what you said about it kind of being more so the contemporary traditional country, and that tends to not to be my thing. And that's where it really, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of that.
Right. But see, like, yes, but you're getting the wrong idea what I mean by that. When I say contemporary, I don't mean mainstream country. Contemporary it's just not.
I know what you mean.
It has some contemporary country sounds. It doesn't mean pop country.
No,
it's still country. It's just not. It's just not neo-traditional or traditional.
It's like white bread country, basically. I guess.
But is it? I mean, I don't understand what kind of fucking country you like. To be honest, I never have.
It doesn't. I'm not gonna say it makes a lot of sense.
Because you don't like contemporary, you don't like neo-traditional, you hate 80s country, you like Waylon, but
Turnpike.
Turnpike's, I would consider them contemporary in some ways, but they have their own kind of unique sound. But they're country.
I like Turnpike.
They're not traditional. They sure as shit ain't traditional.
I am a Texas country fan. That's like right. Randy Rogers band is
that literally, but that's a wide swath of sounds.
That's a good whistle to Turnpike.
Yeah, and then like Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen are different than Jason Boland, Jason Eady.
You like Jason Boland? Jason Eady, I would say, is more of on the the traditional. I guess you would say.
Well. All right. I think that wraps up Triston Marez's album.
We've been getting way off topic.
We have been. This is what happens when Classic Rock Carter comes on. We start talking about nonsense.
I barely said anything.
Yeah, but that's all it takes is for you to say a little bit, and the whole thing derails.
I guess.
Carter is a big personality for no one that's ever seen him in person. He's about 6'5". You know, benches 350, built like a pro wrestler. He actually used to be at Ohio Valley Wrestling and was on his way to the WWE until they sold that territory or discontinued their affiliation, and he didn't want to go work at the training center or whatever.
I didn't want to work for Al Snow either, so I just quit.
Yeah, so Carter is dropped his professional wrestling career. But anyways, moving into our next album here on the Music Roundup this week, we have one that we have been very excited about for a while. It's North Carolina's own Eric Church. About a year ago, he kind of, background on this record, he kind of announced that he was going to do a triple album called Heart and Soul. The first album's Heart, last album Soul, and the middle one was the And. It's called And, but it's like the ampersand sign on that. That record is only available to the church choir, his fan base, and I am no longer a paying member of the church choir, so I don't believe I have access anymore.
Wait, hang on. Does he have like a Patreon or something that he released that album to? Is that what you're telling me?
He has all artists have a fan club.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was not aware that somebody as famous as him would have to have like, it's a fan club that you have to be a part. You have to pay to be a part of. That's interesting. I thought you were saying it was like a Patreon.
No.
It predates Patreon, Carter. It
predates
way before that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Like it's a fan club. So like, for instance, back when he did this, Eric Church has always taken better care of his fans than almost anybody in the mainstream. Because back when he surprise released Mr. Misunderstood, the day after the ACMs, I think, he sent out that album for free to every member of his fan club.
I didn't know that.
And those are people that are almost guaranteed to buy it. So it's like he just gave it away. Pretty stand-up move by the guy. But so we have, like I said, the And album is a smaller collection of songs that we don't really have access to. We've heard a few of the ones that he's released on Spotify, but we won't talk about those for the purpose of this. But so we're going to talk about the first album came out April 16th, which was Heart, and then the album from April 23rd, which was Soul. And they're both 9 songs apiece, vastly different sonically, but we'll jump into Heart first. My thoughts on Heart is I really, really, really like this album. Heart is kind of like, in a lot of ways, has a lot of 80s rock influence. Some of it's Heartland rock. Then there's one song that's very Meatloaf, Elton John, kind of big, like Showtime kind of. It has this big build up in the song. Not a big fan of that song. Lyrically, it's pretty good, but it's just not my thing. But like I said, it's kind of like just a lot of different like rock influences. Like we always say about Eric Church, his last few records, call a spade, he's not really a country artist anymore. He's a rock artist that's within the country sphere because there isn't really a viable mainstream rock alternative anymore. But Eric Church is a very well-respected songwriter, and he continuously keeps putting out good songs. But on Heart in particular, like I think it kind of has this running theme of things like passion, of love, of heartbreak, any kind of emotion dealing with the heart. So it's aptly titled. There's one I think that doesn't fit in whatsoever on this, and that's Stick That in Your Country song. It was the lead single, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the record.
That's not a very good song either.
And it's not. You kind of like the energy he brings, but that's about all it has going for it. But that was the lead single. He almost always kind of leads off with this big bombastic rock song. I think like The Outsiders from that record was the lead single. But I got to say, he started this record off fantastically, man. Heart on Fire is a motherfucking jam. And that song is just like kind of like has that nostalgic factor where he's looking back on the time spent with this girl that he was dating. And, you know, they were kind of rolling through in his truck that his truck couldn't really handle the road. But he was looking at her and he said he couldn't blame a boy for driving it like he stole it fast, and thinking about her on the boat back that time. And, you know, how does the chorus go? He's like saying that soaking my soul in gas and setting my heart on fire. This is very Mellencamp sounding kind of stuff to me. And Eric Church is at his best when he's doing two things in recent years. That's mid-tempo, kind of like heartfelt, well-written songs, and then he really kind of nailed Heartland rock, man. So I love that. Then I'll let you guys kind of jump in too before we kind of get into more songs. On your thoughts on Heart?
We need to make a pause here for like 10 minutes if we can.
Yeah, I got you. Pause it now. All right, now we're back. Sorry, Andy had to excuse himself for a moment, but we're back now.
No, duty called. 911 emergency.
Andy's been out there eating burritos in Wyoming.
Gas station burritos at that.
I'll get you.
All right. Talking about Eric Church's heart, not Andy's butt.
Well, as I'll contradict Logan while on the topic of shit. I thought this album was shit.
All right. Why was it shit?
I really liked Heart on Fire, but after that song, I hated the sound of this album. And if that motherfucker said heart one more time, I was going to kill somebody.
Jeez, Andy.
I get down that the album's called Heart, but I feel like he said heart 47,000 times.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
It's like, what was the song? Never Break Heart. Why does everything have to be a fucking heart?
Well, what do you want him to sing about on an album called Heart? And it's about matters of the heart.
I don't know.
Well, Andy, this is good because normally we all kind of, in some way, agree.
That's true.
I listened to this album once and never wanted to hear it again, except for the first song because I really like that song.
Okay, so we agree on the first song.
Yeah, that's a shame because Russian Roulette is fantastic. People Break is fantastic. Never Break Heart is fantastic, and Crazy Land is good.
Yes,
Crazy Land is good. I do like Crazy Land.
Okay, so you like two songs.
That was on this album.
Yeah, so
Crazy Land would have went better with the other album.
Not even a little bit.
No.
We'll get to that when we get to Soul.
As me and D-Berry were talking about, they should have swapped the fifth record on both albums.
Yeah.
Speak That in Your Country song, meh. Let's just
not good. Off. Sorry. It had nothing to do with this album.
No, Hell of a View, good song. Heart on Fire, banger. Heart of the Night, good. Russian Roulette, good. People Break, banger. Scroll down. Never Break Heart. I don't really remember that song, so I'm gonna say fine. Crazy Land.
It says heart.
Yeah, I mean,
well, Andy, I'm sorry that you don't have a heart, so you can't relate to those of us that do.
So the way I judge an album, if I listen to it 3 times and I can't remember what the song was about, it's fine or bad.
Yeah.
However, Heart on Fire, as I said, Crazy Land, banger. Bunch of Nothing and Love Shined Out. I don't really remember them, so they're fine.
So there are 2 of them that I want to talk about in particular. The first one's Russian Roulette. Russian Roulette's an early fan favorite, and I think it's a fantastic song. It's one of those songs where it's like, he's dealing with a breakup. So again, matters of the heart. And with that song, he's driving. He's leaving the town. He's trying to get gone, as he says, and he's playing Russian Roulette with the radio because he kind of calls out to his previous line in Springsteen, where it's funny how a melody becomes a memory. He says, I need a melody that is not connected to a memory, because you're sitting there and the way he paints the imagery of the song coming through the dashboard lights and left and right in stereo, and is messing up his head playing Russian Roulette with the radio. In that song, he's talking about he needs these songs to not hit him and let him break down from a broken heart from this girl that wrecked his world and left him and ripped his heart out. I'm saying heart a lot just because Andy doesn't like it.
Corny.
But he did you say corny or horny?
Corny.
Corny. But anyways, she ripped his heart out. So he's trying to avoid breaking down by having a song that reminds him of what he's trying to run away from. And I think the imagery that he paints with that is just, it's class A songwriting. I'm sorry. I really, really like this song. It's a good song. Like it's good driving music. It's just it has meaning. Like again, corny, correct?
Well, I was driving when I listened to it, and I thought it was bad driving music.
Andy, you only like trucker songs.
Not true.
They can't all be Eddie Rabbit's Driving My Life Away.
The whole time I listened to this album, the only thing I thought was, who wrote a good song with heart in it? Don Henley. He got down to the heart of the matter in one song. Didn't take him a whole damn album.
Well, this was kind of like, that's the common thread, the theme of this album. It wasn't a collection of songs like you probably want. This is almost like, it's not a concept record, but it's concept light. And I think outside of Stick That in Your Country song, it kind of deals with those issues. And I think that's harder to do, to bring quality songs with the same kind of like emotions that he's dealing with than it is just having a collection of songs, one about beer, one about heartbreak, one about, Daisy Dukes. I mean, one about trucks. I mean, it's harder to do what I think he accomplished here than it is to just make a collection of songs that are loosely affiliated because it's the same guy singing it.
To me, it was obvious that's what he was trying to do, though, and
that was the point. He said that was what he was trying to do.
I didn't think he did it. I didn't think he did it well, though. It's like when you're being so obvious that you're trying to do something that it kind of like, I don't know how to put what I'm trying to.
What are you supposed to try to do something and tell people you're not trying to do it so it impresses a trucker in Wyoming?
But it's like where you're obviously trying so hard to achieve this.
All right. Yeah, and so I do somewhat understand your criticism because I told D-Berry when I was first listening to this, I was like, all I have wanted for the last going on 12 years is another Sinners Like Me or Carolina album. And I know I'm never going to get it again. But so when I first listened to it, I was kind of disappointed. But they're really good songs. So I have to disagree with you there. But the first time through, of both albums, I was a little bummed out because it is just this irrational theory I have that is never going to come to fruition. It's like ECU winning the National Football Championship. It's never going to happen, but I still hold out every year. But I want another Sinners Like Me or Carolina album, even another Chief album.
Yeah.
But I know it's never going to happen.
That's just not Eric as an artist. No, he's been different on every single record.
He's been different for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Now.
I mean, every single record has been different. But like on this record in particular, he did something different that he's probably not ever going to do again, which is, I think, Andy's criticism. Andy wants it to be more of a honed in process that goes through lots of different filters, where this one, he said he took him and his guys, his production team, and his co-writers to a spot in North Carolina that's a former restaurant that became a recording studio. Each song, they took 28 days and they wrote each one in one day. They wrote it in the morning, they recorded it in the evening, they listened to it, and then they went with it. They didn't go through all these things where they overthink it. He wanted it to be this loose, creative moment that he did. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses. So I'm kind of looking at it through that lens, where I don't think this is one of his best records, to be honest. His last three records were better than this. But I mean, it's impressive that he did that, though, because it's not the same as just making the same record over and over. I mean, he's not AC/DC. They've made the same record 19 fucking times. But
I think like it gets like what you said, like where he's like with the plan, we're gonna write this song today. That never sits right with me. Just like when you
most people write a song in a day, Andy.
Most people don't even write their own songs.
I'm not saying that but I'm not saying that it's wrote in a day. It's that the agenda for the day was to do this. It wasn't that just he wrote the song in a day from, I don't know, like past experiences and all or whatever. But it's like where the plan was to write this song today. I don't know, something like that. It just don't sit right with me.
That's how most songs are written, though. Like they meet up with people and they write it. Like even BJ Barham in his albums, he writes the entire record. Like he'll go to the beach or go to the mountains and he'll write the entire record. I mean, it's not like he's writing for over the course of a year whenever the muse hits him in this very pinkies out kind of way. I mean, that's not how it works. I mean, most of these guys, it's a business, but it's also art. There's a line you have to straddle. When they write these records, they hold themselves up, sometimes with co-writers, sometimes they don't, just depends on what your writing style is. And they write these records in a shorter amount of time for this project. And that's kind of sometimes what gets the cohesiveness of what the album is supposed to be.
And I think it's pretty impressive that they wrote it and they put a melody to it.
Yeah.
That quickly. Because, you can write a song.
And then recorded it too.
Yeah, and then record it. And don't even know what the melody is going to be to it. So I think that's impressive. And Andy, I mean, two of the most famous country songs ever written were written in the same day.
It's true.
Jolene and I Will Always Love You.
Dolly wrote them in the same day.
Yeah, but I Will Always Love You is not really, even though it's more famous from Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were written in the same day. I mean, sometimes you just,
We'll just end this kind of like debate we're having with this. We hear you. We understand what you're saying, but I disagree.
Fair enough.
The other song that I do want to talk about though, before I throw it over to Kyle to talk about some of the stuff Kyle and I were talking about, and you can jump in on this one too. I think People Break. I know Andy's going to disagree because he's talking about hearts again, but I think People Break is fantastic because it's kind of like that mid tempo where Eric Church is really good at that, and the melody of this is very, very good. But I think the way he finishes the chorus is such a great turn of phrase, and I love the songwriting on it, where it goes. He's talking about, how relationships dwindle out and it doesn't always work out. Because like I said, everybody knows I'm a fan of shit not working out in songs. But he goes, baby, I get it. I really do. But now I got to go and do the hardest part and break the news to a broken heart. It's like he in his head, he knows that he can't control it. And that, I get why she's not into it, because it's like, Lucero's song, Texas and Tennessee. You don't have to tell me how it feels not to be in love. He understands that aspect, but it doesn't make it, your brain gets it, but your heart, there's a disconnect sometimes between the brain and the heart. Your brain gets it, but at the same time, your heart, it doesn't make it any easier. And so your brain, you got to break the news to your broken heart and have to get through it. And I think this song perfectly encapsulates that.
There's not much left to say. It really isn't much left to say. I mean, to me, People Break almost, I was telling you, it almost sounds like a spoken word. And this is coming from someone who, let's put it frankly, hates culture.
Uncultured swine.
I think a lot of like spoken word and pinkies out with the
frou poetry.
Yeah, I think it's a load of shit. I'm speaking honestly here. I think it's a load of shit. But in my head, when I was listening,
you will never go to a poetry slam.
Never. I will never ever. No. Luckily I am engaged to someone who thinks very similar to me. But if someone ever tried to make me go to that, I would be like, of all the things we could have done, this is what we're doing. I said, but that's just me, Hey, whatever floats people's boats, you're entitled to that. I don't really care. But in my head, when I was listening to it, I was like, wow, this sounds like that. And then they slapped a melody on it, and it works really well. So, and then is it Crazy Land or Never Break Heart where it says poo?
Crazy Land.
First time I heard it, man, I was laughing the way Eric Church says poo.
Yeah, because in Crazy Land, it's a song about it. Andy, this is one that you actually agree with the song, that it's a good song, because you said this when it first was released as a promotional single. It's a song where it's similar in the way how he had all the clever songwriting in the sense of like what he did with Kill a Word, where it's like he was talking about the different emotions or different words in that aspect. But this time it's talking about emotions where, say, you walk into a bar and you have all the emotions of like something not working out, of a heartbreak and regret and never coming back and things like that, and each one's encapsulated in a personified way, in a way that like they're over there playing poo or at the bar, and like one of them's a bartender. It's just, you have to listen to the song. It's done very, very well, and each kind of like emotion represents a person in that song. So that's one we all can agree on that I think would be a good way to, and I'll let you guys have your closing arguments on Heart, but I think that's a good way. We agree on that one. That's a good way to end.
So Andy, all right. So I do understand some of your criticism because, like I said, the album with Kill a Word, I believe that was the name of the album.
Or was it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think it was.
Hold on one second. I will get it. Anyway, I understand what you're saying because that album. Oh my God,
so many compilation albums on Spotify.
It was Mr. Misunderstood.
Yeah,
Mr. Misunderstood. Yeah. Okay. So I understand your criticism because, like, Kill a Word, really good song. But at the same time,
I'm vaccinated. I don't have the Rona.
I don't really want to listen to it. So I do understand some of those criticisms. I can respect that it's a really, really good song and it's really cleverly written. But at the same time, a lot of those songs on that album, I don't really want to listen to. So I don't know if that's your criticism or not, but I do. If it is, I do understand that aspect of your criticism. Your thoughts?
Like it.
All right.
I'm going to cut it short. I don't like it. I like 2 songs.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'm going to throw it over to our correspondent on the street, the former professional wrestler from OVW. Actually, I probably should stop saying that because I don't want them to sue us. But our former professional wrestler, correspondent on the street, Classic Rock Carter. Carter, how do you feel about, as Kyle would say, culture and slam poetry and snap poetry and all those poetry readings?
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, you went to college in Western North Carolina.
That's true. Yeah. Mountain boy.
Explain to me. Defend yourself now.
I mean, I don't know. This album was pretty cool. I like Bret Hart.
He likes Bret Hart. The Hart Foundation.
That's what this album's about, right?
Jim Neidhart.
Carter,
this album was about the Hart family, right?
Carter, I have one question.
From Canada.
Did you listen to a song when D-Bird was driving over here?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, fair enough.
He listened to Russian Roulette and
Heart of the Moment.
Heart of the Matter is a Don Henley song.
I was thinking Heat of the Moment by Asia.
No, he listened to Heart on Fire and Russian Roulette. He did like those.
Okay, respectable.
I prefer Hearts on Fire from Rocky IV.
Oh, a good montage song. We should do an episode on montage music one day.
Ooh, that's a good idea. We should write that down on the list.
All right, so moving on from Heart. It came out April 16th. I recommend it. Kyle recommends it. Andy says no. So we're 2-1. We have actually a disagreement on an album for once here. That hasn't happened in a while.
Too bad, Andy. We're a democracy, and you have been voted off the island.
Yep.
You're the biggest link. Goodbye.
All right, moving into the second, really the third release. Another collection of 9 songs came out April 23rd, and this one is titled Soul. And it's aptly titled again because it's very soulful. It's more about, in a lot of ways, the sonic sounds you hear rather than the subject matter. The last time Heart kind of dealt more with the subject matter, whereas Soul kind of deals with the sound of this album. It's very funky. It's very soulful. It has some like Muscle Shoals, Motown kind of vibe with it. Mm-hmm. I think the album sounds really good. It's a groovy album. It's something that driving down the road, if you don't want to listen to the lyrics, it's pretty cool to listen to. My criticisms, and I'll cede it over to Andy for him to talk about it, is and then we can, after that, Kyle can talk, and then we'll talk about the songs we liked or didn't like. But I think the album sounds good. It's very groovy, but I think lyrically it's kind of weak outside of a couple songs. And on top of that, I've never been a big fan when Church goes into his falsetto voice, and he does that a lot here. It's just not my thing. It grows on me a little bit because, like, I didn't like Higher Wire from the Desperate Man, but now I kind of like that song a little bit. So maybe it's a grower. But it in the words of Farce the Music on Twitter today, for me, Heart was a yeah and Soul was a meh. So that's kind of where I stand on it. Andy, what about you? Soul, Eric Church.
I like the album. I agree with you though on the writing. Aside from Hell of a View, pretty light at best, I would say. But it sounds, a lot of the songs on this album, I really like the way they sound.
Right.
Like, I really like. I like Break It Kind of Guy. I told Carter to listen to that song, and I'm guessing he didn't because he's a useless asshole. But
you're a useless asshole.
Wow.
But that song to me it's like George Thorogood and like disco or something. Like
there's some Bee Gees influence. There's some little bit of Rolling Stones influence on some songs.
That was the song I was like, Carter would probably really like this because it reminds me of like George Thorogood too. It's like the lyrical sense. It's the arrogance of it, just the ridiculous arrogance, basically. But it's pretty light on that. But I like the sound of that. Bad Mother Trucker is a very corny song, but it sounds really good. And then let's see, like Rock and Roll Found Me. I really actually have no idea what the song's about. I don't know what any of the words are, but it sounds good.
I really like that song.
Basically, exactly. I've listened to it multiple times. I have no idea what it's about, though. I really like the way it sounds, though. Basically, what you said, though, lyrically, slack, sound, very good.
Fair enough. Kyle, what about you?
Andy, since we're going to continue the spree of disagreeing, I'm not going to say your opinion is wrong, but your opinion is wrong. All right, so Hell of a View should be on the Hard album because the Hard album is superior. I would like to see him sing Bad Mother Trucker in live and see how quickly it takes him after a few beers to mess those lyrics up. Leonard Skinner Jones, it's fine. It's a fine song. Jenny, no.
I'm not a fan of Jenny. And I'm not talking about my sister-in-law. I love her. I'm just talking about the song Jenny is not good.
Break It Kind of Guy, nah. I don't even remember Brightside Girl or Look Good and You Know It. I'll be honest with you, when I saw the title of Look Good and You Know It, I didn't even want to listen to it. And I know we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I did, and I forced myself to listen to it. And man, so hard for me to say because I am an Air Church fanboy. Jeez. Mr. Church.
He's getting choked up over here.
Mr. Church, if you're listening to our podcast, which I know you are, as you all should be, please stop trying to do this. The Outsiders album really infuriated me.
Eric Church is like, I don't give a fuck.
I know he does. I mean, this man is just swimming in dollar bills. He has his own furniture line with like rooms to go or whatever. He didn't care about me. But please, I'm your biggest defender. And it hurts me to say this. Stop doing this album. Stop. I know you want to do it because you are a well-rounded musician, but please stop. It doesn't suit your it doesn't suit your style. It doesn't suit your voice. And we have discussed relentlessly. You can lack certain vocal talents, but sing to your strengths. And this album just exhibits every one of his weaknesses, in my opinion. And it just...
Vocally, it's not his strongest.
Yeah, vocally. All right, lyrically, it may be, but this may be very shallow of me. If the lyrics are good, but it doesn't sound good, I don't want to listen to it. And that's just my opinion.
Oh, man, you got to have some soul.
Look, it reminds me, I feel like
that cuts out a lot of people in independent music.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if Eric Church smokes a little dope, but I feel like he smoked a little dope and watched reruns of Soul Train on YouTube. And he wrote this album. And that's fine, but you've got to shape it a little bit to fit your strengths. And he didn't do it. And it's not good. And it hurts me to say that. It's his biggest fan.
I will say, like, I generally agree with Kyle on that, but at the same time, I admire his desire to be different each album and have kind of stretch the creative boundaries. Let's just throw aside the fact that he's supposed to be a country artist. Like that's a lost cause at this point when with people in modern music. It's just it's all over the place with people sonically. So throw that out for right now.
Can I interrupt one second? The best part about this album is the young lady that he has singing background vocals.
Joanna Cotton.
Yes.
Yeah. Joanna Cotton's fantastic.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She does a really good job adding that in here.
Best part about this album.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, like I said, Hell of a View. We talked about this on the show before. That song just sounds so good. It's a cool little nostalgic story, or not nostalgic, but it's a cool little story about like, him and his girl kind of like just not chasing money, but chasing freedom and happiness. And, as long as they're together, it's a hell of a view kind of thing. Really fun song. Sounds really good. Would fit better on Heart than it would on Soul. Leonard Skinner Jones is probably the countryest part on Soul. I actually like Leonard Skinner Jones. Some could argue it's a little cheesy maybe, but there's some Easter eggs in it about Leonard Skinner. This couple met at a concert, and the lady got pregnant. They went their separate ways. I don't think that he knew that he had a son. He meets him later, and we find out that the father was Curtis Lowe. I mean, maybe a little cheesy, but I think it's kind of cool. I think that's a good song. Hell of a View's a good song. I really like Rock and Roll Found Me. I think that was a Casey Beathard co-write. Look Good, and I was disappointed because Travis Meadows co-wrote that song, and he is a guy that has written songs like Riser. He wrote Kill a Word. He's written with a lot of the independent guys, and Travis Meadows, I think, opened up for American Aquarium a few years ago. Like he's a very talented songwriter. This wasn't one of my favorites that came from his pen, but like I said, the album sounds good. I think it's a little bit weak lyrically from what I'm used to from Eric Church. Not that the songs are bad per se, but it's not my thing. Maybe it is for you. That's fine if it is. But, like I said, Heart, yeah. Soul, meh. I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at on it.
More of a heart, nah. Soul, meh.
Andy's not a fan of either. And like I said, Andy, too.
Who wrote a good song called Jenny, Cross Canadian Ragweed.
Very true. So back to the correspondent on the street.
Really good song.
Classic Rock Carter. Any thoughts on Soul? You haven't heard a single song, but hell of a view.
To wrap it all up for the Heart and Soul 3 albums, I prefer Heart and Soul by Huey Lewis and the News.
It's hip to be square, bro. It's the power of love. All right. Well, yeah, I think that kind of wraps up most of our thoughts on Heart and Soul. Andy, you have anything else to add?
No.
Yeah. Well, we actually kind of had a contentious episode here, which we haven't had in a while. I kind of dig the fact that we disagreed because we agree too much sometimes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dewberry. Andy, I have one final question. The over-under before someone posts a really crappy...
Is that a pun for what Andy was doing in the bathroom of the truck stop? Ayo! Ayo!
Over-under before how long it takes for someone to leak the ampersand album on YouTube.
Over-under on what? Days, weeks? Where we're
days, weeks.
2 weeks.
I think it's already out.
It's already up there.
Has it been struck down yet?
Well, do you think it's already out and you just saying that, Andy, or do you have you read that or seen it?
No, I just that's just what I think.
We'll look it up and we'll
think it. I mean, it's probably true.
Yeah. We'll look it up and we'll update you next episode if it is, or we'll tweet it or something. But yeah, I say 2 weeks. I think somebody will try to leak it.
Yes.
It is already released to the church choir, right?
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, though, it's gonna be difficult for them to do it. You know why? Because he offered a link for you to be able to stream the album, but not be able to download it. You can't download the album. You can get it in vinyl or you can stream it.
Yes, that's why I think someone's just going to have a really, really crappy
stream. Yeah,
they'll
try to record it or something. Yeah,
and it's going to be hard to find because they're going to try to juke the algorithm to where people strike it down.
Yeah,
so it's going to be hard to find. But
maybe slow it down or something so it misses the algorithm.
Yeah,
and if that's the case, I'm just not going to listen to it.
No.
Now there are a couple songs that we've heard from it that I kind of like.
Yes.
But anyways, Heart, I recommend. Soul, I mean, if you want to listen to it once or twice, it's fine. It's not going to be something that I'm going to keep in my rotation, but that's me. All right. Well, for this episode of Country and Cold Cans, I'm Logan sitting here with Andy and Kyle. And this week, our correspondent on the street, Classic Rock Carter.
#1 country music journalist.
Who doesn't listen to country?
Signing off.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.